Don't underestimate my love, 'cause I can turn your darkness into light. If
So
you
then you have
just
a build-up right
believed
here.
in what we've got, then you would feel this paradise. This
then the drop.
paradise. You make me shivers without trying. Shit, there's no denying. Got my body in the danger zone.
Come on, bro. You cannot compete with that kind of energy. And this kind of level of production is the stuff that I keep practicing every day to get to. And I'm really excited that I got to this kind of vibe with this track here. So I'm just going to loop around this section here so the beat just doesn't play immediately where I don't want it. So kick wise, I just got a stabby kick like this. So this is my kick. You can see that my kick has some frequencies. It's a really rich kick. It has some high frequencies and some mids right here. Because I didn't want a clean kick, like if I EQ out the high frequencies like this. Just a hollow kick like this. I wanted a kick that had a little bit more textures than the highs here, like a really bright one. And not just like one full of mids like this, because what you can also do is you can add these mid harmonics if you add some distortion or things like that. But I just wanted a kick with like sample that sounded good already without me having to do much to it, because when I have ideas, I want to move fast. I don't want to take so much time to try and mix the kick. I can always do that later if I want to, but I want a kick that sounds how I want it, because you can easily just swap out a kick later on and do what you want to do. If you have, I'm sure you have sample packs that have a lot of drum sounds and things like that. If you actually don't have a lot of nice drum sounds, you can check the link down below so you can use the same sounds that I use to pick in my music. You can check the link down below to my store to all my drum kits. And then the next sound I added here was this hollow sound. You can hear how the sound sounds like. So I just added that, to add a little bit of a groove, but it's not really getting the track to move. And then I added this tom. So now the groove is starting to make sense. And keep in mind, this is just 3 elements, right? Just like that. And then I added the loop. Just doing that. Because when you're creating Afro house or every styles in this Afro sounds, you want to have the right groove with just a few instruments. The instruments don't have to be too many for you to create the groove, right? So I just have that. And the next thing, I add the shaker. Again, a simple shaker that's just creating a vibe and just adding a vibe to it. So as I'm adding these sounds, I'm trying to make sure that they maintain the groove that I'm going for, because if any one of these sounds goes out of the groove and the groove points that I'm trying to add, then the track will sound strange. It won't really sound correct. Just like that. And then I wanted the hat. So then I used one of the hats here, which is this one. I like this hat. It doesn't have too much attack, as you can see here. It's nice and smooth, and it has a really long decay. I really like that. And I actually need to not EQ so much of it, because you can see it's only right here by the high frequencies, like right here. Maybe I could take out a lot of these mid frequencies here like this. But for me, it sounds really thin, so I opted not to do that. So I just left it as it was, because if you have good samples, you don't need to do so much to them. You can only enhance them a little bit more if you want to, but that's the rhythm of the hi-hat that I added here. So at this point, my drums are solid and they are hitting, and with minimal mixing, you can tell there isn't a lot of plugins on these. Like I just added an EQ to the kick just so I can show you what's happening, but there are literally no plugins. But because I chose the right sound and my sound selection for the drums was good, that's why I keep on telling people, find the right sounds. Again, I have the right sounds that you need to make this music, linked down below if you need them. If you don't have them, don't complain, but I've got them linked down below. And then the next thing, I added an alchemy here for my melody sound. So my melody sound is that with this sound here, it's basically playing, it's an arpeggiated sound, right? So you can see it says winding wave synth ARP 1 right here, right? So this is what it looks like. Here are the notes. So you can hear that it's very low right there because I didn't just make it start like just abruptly. You can see it's coming in slowly here. But if I start to play it around this section, so I had a nice vibe here of a sound and arpeggio that I wanted to have in this track. And for this sound, I've got some compression on it. So let me just turn these effects off. I have some compression on it, and then I have this step effects right here, and you can see it's doing some sidechain emulation, so it's doing some sidechain stuff. And then I also have a tube EQ right here. So if I turn all of these off, it sounds like this. Here with some compression, just compressing a little bit, just controlling it just a tad bit. You can see how the meter is moving here, and if I go to grab, it's not really compressing that much. It's just some light compression right there. And then next, this plugin is actually doing the most. It's actually adding the pumping effect, adding some sidechain effect to the sound so that it ducks for the kick and gives some room for the kick. So if I turn it off and on while I play the track, you'll hear the difference. So this is with it off and then with it on. And then some tube EQ. And what this tube EQ is doing a little bit of EQ, and then what I really wanted to do for the sound is to add some drive and add some punchy harmonics to the sound, just to, you know, like liven it up a little bit more. Because when it comes to some of these synth sounds, they sound really dry, and they sound, you know, like really robotic. So adding some harmonic just gives them a richness and a fullness that you don't get, because for me this was my main lead sound, my main melodic sound. And then after that, I just copied the same flow of sounds that I had here, and then I started to create new melodies, right? So the next melody I have here is this analog synth lead, and the previous sound, if you're wondering, it's in Alchemy right here. It's called the Winding Wave Synth ARP. So that's the what I have, but it's called the Black Magic Plug sound. So sounds like that. That's what it sounds like. And then the next sound I have here is the simple analog lead. Just so the sounds, the sounds that I have here, some of them are processed. Like this one here, I've got some delay on it, and then I also have this space blend reverb right here. Again, this is the plugin that I was checking out for the first time in my previous video. So if I turn these off, it sounds like this. Very dry. So I added some delay to it just to, you know, make it bounce around. So this is a stock delay here in Logic Pro. Just like that, simple. And then some reverb. I love this reverb so much. It's like adding a lot of space to the sound right here. Maybe I can turn the mix down a little bit. So then this is how the melody sounds with the track. So these are the notes, just 4 notes right here. It's just going like that, bam, 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 just like that. So it's not really copying the first ARP that I showed you here, it's doing its own thing. The notes are far apart and not too close like the other fast arpeggio that I showed you in the beginning. So that's what I like about it, because it's doing its own thing, right? But it's doing its own melody at the same time. So these are not melodies that are clashing, but melodies that are complementing each other and being different at the same time, while there's a lot of melodic elements. And then next up, I've got this tension flow synth bass. Also a sound in Alchemy here without much processing. So it's just playing these notes here. And if I just play it on its own, sounds like this. So it's basically a melody that is kind of bass-like, right? And I'm actually thinking now that I need to cut off some of these low frequencies right here. Let me go down to 60 hertz, just like that. So sounds like these really add some really nice bass to the track, because I was really filling up the track with a lot of all these other melodic sounds here. So I'm filling up the high frequencies and then I'm filling up the mid frequencies, but now we need some of those low mids to be full so that the track sonically can sound really good, because you have this mixture of sounds that are really filling up the track like that. And then next we've got these crystal voices here. So this is another layering with the previous sound that I showed you here, which is this simple lead here. So this sound was to enhance, you know, and kind of emphasize on this same melody here, because this melody to me was really good. It really stood out. And then when I play it with this sound, and if I take it out, it sounds like this. There's not much atmosphere and not much emphasis. But if I bring it in, it raises that melodic sound to a higher level to actually show you that it's even more important than the other sound right here, because I just emphasized a little bit more. So with some of these sounds, that's what you want to do. You want to let them play on their own and as simple as they are. And then when you mix them in with other sounds, you want those sounds to really cut through and really be in the forefront. So you don't do that just by turning it up and adding more volume, but you want to layer it and add more sound to it, and you know, emphasize a little bit more with another sound like this. And that's how I do it, to emphasize that sound so that it sounds really good. So now if I play these together, and let me just mute the other stuff I haven't showed you yet, it sounds like this. Oh, bro, this hits, bro. Like this hit, like the vibe of this is crazy. And then I have another layer here of, you can actually tell that it's another layer of the sound that I wanted to emphasize this lead here. So these are shifting chords. So these are also doing the same thing. So these are kind of divisive sound for me, but I like doing this just to add another slightly different tone that is kind of detuned a little bit, you know, just in the background of these sounds, just to also add a little bit of something to, again, emphasize that, you know, this melody, you must follow it. It is a really good main melody for the track. So that's what that sounds like. So it's right there in the distance, you know. It's right there, but it's just accenting the vibe of that melody. It's not really in the forefront, because I didn't want it to do that, because then you could catch like, okay, what is that? It becomes questionable. It gets your mind to think, and I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to overthink this track. Okay, and then next thing here, we've got some bass. So I've got this 80s bass sound here that I got here. So let me just unsolo that and play it.
Oh, pull me deep in your ocean, drown me in.
Just mute the vocal so long. So I can just play you just this bass. So this bass is in retro synth, it's just the 80s bass sound. So that's what the sound sounds like, but I had to go an octave lower. I loved how this bass sounded because when I looked at the frequencies, I was like, this is a rich bass. Like, look at how full it is. I always check that about my basses, that, you know, how full are they, especially these synth basses, unless if I'm using maybe like a guitar bass or something like that, like a sine wave bass where you don't have much frequencies and you still have to add processing to them. But for this one, I didn't have to add a lot of processing because, I mean, look at how it's full. Not a lot of high frequencies because I didn't want it to have a lot of high frequencies and be bright, because my track has a lot of bright elements already, like the percussions and the melodic elements. So you can see how really good it looks and sounds here. And then when I played it, bum, 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 just like that, I was like, dude, crazy. And then I layered it with the sound here, and you can tell I do have an EQ on it. I am cutting out, I'm high passing. I'm high passing around 80 right here. So the sound here is adding another layer of vibe and grit to the bass. So there's another sound in retro synth here called biting FM. And if I turn off the EQ, it sounds like this. So it does have a lot of some bass in itself, but I had to cut that out so that it can work well with the other sound. And then after that, I added this lush electro pad, holding just one note. And this is a sound in Alchemy. And obviously I had to add, you know, some uplift sounds, you know, and risers and things like that. That's what you see right here. Like this one right here, just to add, you know, a rising effect to it as the track is playing. And then you have this days and sweeps here. Oh, I love that. Simple stuff, right? And then vocals. Oh, I love how she starts, bro.
Let me show you devotion. Let me light you up. I just wanna show you.
So I added some vocals to this, and I did this in my previous video again using this Place Blend plugin. I love this. It's free and it sounds really great. I'm gonna be using it for a really long time at this point.
The depths of my love, pull me into your ocean. Don't underestimate my love, 'cause I can turn the darkness into light. If you just believed in what we've got, then you would feel this paradise, this paradise. You give me shivers without trying, shit, there's no denying. Got my body in the danger zone.
Come on, bro. This is beautiful production. I'm really proud of what I did here, and this track is sounding really good. Let me know what you think down below. Again, if you need anything that I use to make my music, there are links down below to my store where you can get drum kits and also templates so that you can make house music that sounds like this. But thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next video. I'm X and I'm out. Peace.